So, hello, wonderful people, and welcome to this wonderful series of Flutter. I'll be your tutor for this series, and today we'll be seeing what is Flutter, why Flutter, and why not something else. So, before we start, we need to get some interest in this thing, Flutter. So, let's move to our screen and get some knowledge about what is Flutter, why Flutter. These two questions will be clear today. So, let's move to our screen. So, today we are gonna look that what is Flutter and why Flutter. A tool that allows you to build native cross-platform, that is iOS and Android applications with one programming language and a code base. What does this statement tries to say? Let's take a deep look into it. Basically, you have two technologies, that is Android, and you have one technology called iOS. So I need to learn Kotlin, I need to learn Java, and I need to have a Android environment for basically creating Android application. For iOS, we need to learn Swift or Objective C, or and you need to have an iOS environment. So instead of doing all these things, what if I say that you can just do all these things with a single programming language, that is Dart, and a framework called Flutter, and you can create both application at the same time and deploy on their respective application stores. That is, for iOS you have App Store, and for Android you have well-known Play Store. So basically you have a project structure which has two folders called Android and iOS, and you get two applications. More than that, if I come to why Flutter, not only Android and iOS, after Flutter 2.0 has been released, you have all the operating system support. So basically you have Android plus iOS plus web applications, you have Windows application, you have Linux, you have Mac OS, and what else you need, you can add that. So basically it's like everything in a single programming language and a single code base. Let's try to find out what is like Flutter more deeply. It is a combination of two things. One is SDK, that is software development kit, and a framework or a widget library. What is a SDK? Let's try to see. Tools to compile your code to native machine code and development with easiness. So what you're gonna do is you have tools, that is you need to download a Flutter SDK, and it contains tools that will compile your code, that code, into native machine code, and obviously it will be a development with easiness because you have a SDK. So the suggestions which you get while coding, it's work of this SDK. Then you have the framework or the widget library. So Flutter is the framework here. Basically Flutter or the widget library, which I'm trying to say, is a pack of some reusable UI building blocks. Suppose I want to create two buttons. Okay, suppose two buttons. And what if I say that in Swift and Android you have widgets, and you have in Flutter also, but what if I say you need to write 50 lines of code for both of them? It will be like a hectic task, and it won't be same looking, right? You need to have some different text in this. Maybe you can have different color of this button, but there are widget libraries in Flutter that you can like deploy, or you can use just a 5 lines of code. You can change the color, you can change the text, whatever you want. So it is a reusable UI building blocks is equals to widget. That means I will tell you why I'm calling this as widget also. Utility functions and packages. And suppose if you want new packages, you have always the support of pub.dev, that is the official documentation of Flutter. So basically whatever package you are going to use comes from this particular website. So let's now try to know that what is Dart here, what is Dart doing here. As I told you, there is a single programming language that Flutter is going to use, and that is Dart. So Dart was a programming language that was developed by Google. Similarly, Flutter is also developed by Google. They are different teams which are working hand in hand. Dart is a object-oriented and strongly typed language. We will see about object-oriented deep into later. Syntax is like a mixture of JavaScript, Java, and C sharp. But you don't need to know any of these languages. It doesn't mean that you know need to know any one of these. If you know, it's well and good. It will be easier for you to understand. But if you don't know, I am there for it always. Basically, Dart was developed for focusing on the front end mobile application and web interfaces, that is UI development. But currently, you have packages which you can use to create a backend also using Dart. I will give you an example. There is a package called Hive, which you can use to create a backend to using Dart programming language. Let's try to compare between what is a Flutter and what is Dart. So don't get confused. Flutter is basically working on three things. Flutter framework, which I told you is a collection of some widgets, a framework, which is a set of features, and Dart, the programming language, and the Flutter SDK, the set of tools which are used to compile. So this is a theoretical video, and the three or four things which I need you people to note is the definition of Flutter, what is Dart, and some Flutter architecture which we'll be seeing now. So Flutter architecture, UI as code. Now I'll be telling you that Flutter is nothing but a collection of widgets. Everything is a widget in Flutter. Literally, I mean to say everything. Your whole screen is a widget. Your app bar that you see in your application is a widget. All these boxes which you can see on this phone screen is a widget. Actually, the whole page is a widget, as I told you. So that's what I'm trying to say here. You build a widget tree basically. So it's like you start from the top of your screen and you continue building it down. So basically it's like a tree. You sit on the top of tree and you are coming down and down and down. You are sitting here, you are coming down, you are coming down, and once your phone screen is over, that's it. You have different platform, single code base, as we saw, one code base. So these are the three things that again is repeated here. And as I told you, everything is a widget. So that's all which you need to know about Flutter and why you should use Flutter rather than using. There are more native technologies that you can use to create application like React Native. You have Ionic, but why Flutter? I told you. Okay, let's create a more interest in for you people in Flutter. There are some big organizations using Flutter. One of them is Google Pay. I know everyone knows this thing. You have Alibaba application which is using Flutter now. So all these applications are rebuilt. Earlier their code was into a different code base, but now they have been rebuilt into Flutter. So if you go to your settings and find Google Pay application, you will find that it has a Flutter release. So yeah, the reach is increasing, opportunities are increasing, and that's one reason that you should learn Flutter. That's it about Flutter. We'll meet into next video and try to see something else. Thank you very much.